Hi, I'm Tony from RUX, and you're listening to 4x4 Canada podcast.
And good evening. I'm your host, Trisha.
And I'm your other host, Wes. Tony, want to thank you for coming on tonight. Been looking forward to this one for a bit. You and I have been talking for a bit, and I've seen the RUX products firsthand. And ever since I saw them, I'm like, I got to talk to these guys because they make a superior storage system. Thank you for coming on board tonight.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Before we hop into it, next week we have a interview coming up with Jeepapalooza. And Jeepapalooza is a charity-based 4x4 event on Vancouver Island in May. And I think it was 2014 when the first event happened. Since then, they have raised, I believe, over $75,000 for cancer research in BC. So not only is it a really fun event, it's a great fundraiser for a great cause. That one's near and dear to my heart. As some of you may know, that my mother is going through breast cancer right now, and she's all good. We're going through more radiation and it's all going to be clear. But the service and the respect and the outpouring from the BC cancer people has been incredible. And especially you can compare it to 6 years ago when my dad had passed away from brain cancer. It is a whole new thing. Everybody has been absolutely incredible. The nurses have been wonderful, everything from the doctors to the receptionists to everybody with Cancer BC. So Jeepapalooza is near and dear to a lot of us. We all know somebody that we've lost through cancer or has had cancer. And what the Jeepapalooza community is doing over there is absolutely incredible with the amount of money that they raised. And it's going to a lot of local things on Vancouver Island in regards to cancer research and to help them take care of cancer patients. So that's coming up next week, the Jeepapalooza. And in the meantime, we are talking with Tony from RUX. How you doing tonight, Tony?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for coming on board tonight. As I mentioned, I've been excited about this for a while. I love your product. I do want to give a quick shout out to where people can find more information about you. We'll put it in the show notes, but basically you're rux.life on all the socials, and rux.life is your website as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. RUX.life. And we're in a variety of retail shops as well. NBC and Valhalla Pier here in BC and Atmosphere and a couple other ones.
And that's one of the questions I was going to have later on too, is where we can see your product on hand. Because to be honest with you, it's something that you want to see before you purchase it, to see the quality of an app. And what we're talking about is, I'm going to let you explain it because you're the designer. You're the guy that designed this thing. So you can explain it a lot better than I can. But basically, from my understanding, it's a portable storage system that's basically weatherproof and collapses it, so you can fold it right up. But you can also use it as a duffel bag and as a backpack. So maybe if you can explain to our listeners how RUX started and a little bit better description than I'm giving them.
Sure. Yeah. It says a pretty good description. Maybe I'll start with how it started.
Yep.
Which I have a business partner, my friend Andre, and he has a cabin out at Gun Lake, which is north of Whistler, like Pemberton there. And he lives in Whistler, and he wanted something that was going to make it easier for him to get to his cabin, essentially. And he does all the things, skiing and biking and dirt biking and boating and whatnot out of the cabins. And he has 2 kids and his wife and whatever. So they have to transport a bunch of stuff every time they go. And I'd been doing some contract work and it was between jobs. And then he asked me about this, if I could make him something, some sort of big carrying tote. And it just struck a nerve with me because I've been doing design for 10, 15 years, or maybe it's closer to 15, 20 years for a while.
It all runs together.
And through that time as well, I've done a lot of trips myself. I like climbing and expeditions to Patagonia and Baffin Island and all sorts of stuff. The same problem, but in maybe a slightly different way of transporting gear. And just I've been through all of the ways that a lot of people have with duffel bags and then having bins at home and transferring stuff back and forth and just this constant shuffle and then losing stuff in bins back in the crawl space. And I just thought there must be a better way for it. So I set out to make the ultimate sort of RUX is really the 70-liter bin that you're referring to is definitely the sort of the heart of the system. But I was setting out to make more or less a system that you could organize your whole life with, essentially like a pack out style thing, but maybe more for outdoor gear or just everything but tool. So yeah, that's the origins of RUX and basically what RUX is.
Yeah, so let's talk about the 70 liter. That's, like you say, the core of the company. You've got some other neat products as well, which we'll get into, but the 70 liter is basically a cube that is foldable, but also is weatherproof. It has a unique lid to it. Mm-hmm. And maybe if you can explain a bit more of the 70 liter so their listeners can get a visual. I know it's hard over the audio, but
I can explain it. So it's basically about the size of your average sort of Rubbermaid bin, that sort of cubic dimension. But then it's actually made out of TPU coated nylon. So basically a dry bag type material. And then it has a plastic rim and then these rails that kind of hold the bag part to the rim on the top. And then the bottom is actually a very stiff foam. And then in the corners, to make it so that it stands up and it's more like a bin than a bag, it has these, we call them corner stays, or essentially they're not like slap braces like you would have had as a kid. They're actually more
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
They're actually more measuring tape in that they want to be straight all the time.
Right.
So that's what, and they're coated in silicone so they don't shred the bag open. And there's one in each corner. So it's essentially this like box.
Yeah.
It's made out of fabric and plastic and pieced together, but is like a completely RF welded dry bag essentially. And then it has a separate lid that kind of snaps on the kayak spray skirt. It's got like a bungee cord around it and couple buckles. And so you snap on the lid and we say that's a weatherproof seal. Probably wouldn't survive if you tossed it in the lake. But again, my partner Andre's driven it up and over this back road that you have to take to get to his cabin, and it doesn't even let water in when you're driving down the highway, really. So
it's rainproof basically, and
like weatherproof, but like West Coast Squamish weather.
Exactly.
And then so it's basically just like a big bin.
Now let's talk about the inside. You can also go with a divider down the inside as well too. So it's a hard bottom. Yeah. And that does collapse down if you need it for storage. If you want to store it in the garage, it collapses down. But you can also go with a divider down the middle, as well as your bag, your RUX bag, which we'll talk about in a bit, which you can divide up that way. And then on the outside, you've got ways of attaching other stuff to the container.
Yeah. So it's got these, like I said, there's a rim that holds the whole top open, and then these rails that are both on the inside of that rim and the outside. And those are what allow the other components, we call them, to attach to the RUX. And so we have a divider bag, which is a simple shopping bag, but that hooks into the rails on the inside. And then we also have a waterproof bag that is an absolute dry bag with a roll top that kind of folds away in this neat way. It makes it invisible, but then you pop it out. And then we have a pocket that you can clip all around on the inside as well. And you can attach those pockets. You could have 4 or more pockets on the outside on the rails as well. The rails also allow us to attach straps, which is another kind of closer to a duffel bag than so basically you can carry it over your shoulder, or you can actually throw it on your back if you want to, like a backpack.
That's one of the neat things I thought was the handles, because even when you are packing a bin per se, you're holding it around your belly area or whatever. Whereas with the long handles you've got, you can hold it like a duffel bag or another style of bag. So it's a little bit easier to move around, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's like the whole, like you're saying, it's a hard thing to describe because it's the 3 things that have been merged. We like to think that we're pioneering a whole new sort of category of sort of mobile storage systems. I don't know, that might be a little bold, but
you are, I think. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah. So it's basically, literally at its simplest, like a storage bin, but that you can actually carrying and use like a bag. And we like to say it's all just like a big experiment, and figuring out what the perfect ratio of bagginess to boxiness is. I don't think quite got there, or I think everyone might have slightly different needs. So we try to make it really customizable or configurable by the end user fairly quickly. So if you're like, I need to squish it down, it just squishes down. I want it to be standing up. Now we're working on, maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but we're working on new other parts to the system that would say allow to make it this like total like box, like rigid corners or rigid panels.
Yeah. I think you've really got something interesting because it is so you can use it for everything, right? You've got on the outside, you've got spots where you can use tie downs, for lack of better terms, to tie it down, say, into the back of a Jeep or into the front rack on a quad, or even onto a stand-up paddleboard. If you want to throw your lunch or other stuff in there, instead of having a dry bag, you've got something that is a little bit better than just slamming a dry bag onto the front of a kayak or onto the front of a stand-up paddleboard. So I think having those lash down points or tie down points as well is a big selling feature to me anyways.
Yeah. We actually just, I guess not, maybe in the fall, we launched like specific little tie downs, and we have a long one and a short one, and they're very much intended to be like, if you were going to put it, we actually see a lot of guys around here because there's lots of people into snowmobiling, and it happens to fit perfectly into the rack on the back of a snowmobile.
Yep.
And so we've just made these little straps with a little cam buckle on them that you can just leave attached to your rack, and then clips into the rails again on the outside of the RUX. And then all of a sudden you can have a giant trunk for your stuff. And around here, a lot of guys will take their skis and ski boots. They'll put their ski boots into a bag or something on the back of their sled and then go skiing when they get out wherever. And if you're not doing that, it's just like a really handy way to add a storage bin that you can pack in your living room at home and then just strap. Because there's that other solution for all these things, but we're trying to make one that would be like you said, you could just use it for that, or you could use it to go get groceries or whatever.
Exactly. One of the other things I do like about it is on the 70, you've got a clear window in there. So you can actually see what's inside, which if you've got a couple of them is nice. If you've got a Rubbermaid bin or whatever, you've probably written on the outside in Sharpie what it is, an idea, right? But with it crossed out 4 times because you changed things 4 times.
No, exactly. Yeah. So we got the little window in there, and actually on all of our newer ones, we're adding just your standard little plastic sleeve that you could slide a card into. And,
that's a great idea. Yeah.
And the card, and so it'll be on the side and on the lid. And then each RUX 70 comes with its own little card that's actually got its own unique QR code. So if you wanted to really nerd out, you could actually put a list of stuff on that QR code and then link it to our app on our website.
Yep.
And
let's hop into that app. That was one of the questions I had for you. And I did see it, and I get what you're talking about. If you do use your barcode scanner on there, and you can see your list that you populated. So that's really cool. But what else about the RUX app? What is the RUX app all about?
It's honestly, we haven't put a ton of effort into it yet. It was like an idea. And then like another inspiration for RUX was I have a lot of friends who do work in rope access kind of stuff. And so they have a ton of equipment that they're constantly managing. Yeah. And because it's safety equipment, they have to check things in and out, and you can only use a harness for so many years, and then it has to be retired no matter what. They're really diligent about their gear management. And I don't know, I don't personally even need that level of gear management, but heck, why not? Like people do. And even just like now, you can't see it on the radio, but behind me, I'm probably the only person in the world with 10 RUX as my storage bins at home. But instead of writing on each one in Sharpie, I just put a card into the little window slot and just wrote, camping gear and sleeping bags and whatever. And it's just a lot And then I can actually just look at the little window and
Yeah.
oh yeah, it is
That's
that
so
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
hopping back to the 70, it's based aside of your average Rubbermaid. What is the weight capacity on it?
But we say that 50 pounds is recommended. It can physically carry a lot more than that. I think from like a WCB type perspective, they don't want to see people picking up more than that
Yeah.
anyways. So
That's exactly what I was going to say. You don't want to be lifting, you don't want to be lifting 80 pounds or whatever by yourself or 100.
yeah, I've personally loaded it up with, I don't know, whatever, a couple 100 pounds. And then as far as stacking, they can actually you can stack a lot on top of them, even with the spring corner stays.
Mhm.
But as soon as you touch the corner stay, it collapses. That's why we're making other parts that like we're literally like, this is like the big reveal here. We're launching this new thing called the RUX Lab, which is a test bed for all these new parts that we've got a lot of feedback on. And we're still just like proving out. And so people can go and buy those, or they're not prototypes, but they're small batches of things. Some of the parts are 3D printed and stuff. They're very functional, but like early stages. And so we've got these cool little like plastic clips that go into the corner, and then aluminum, just like rigid aluminum bars that slide in next to the spring parts. And then you can put as much weight in there as you want, but you put like hundreds of pounds on top.
Now, let's talk about your bags, your waterproof bags. Is a waterproof bag. I don't know how to,
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know how to explain it.
really stylish waterproof bag, I must say. Very stylish.
yeah, that was like everything RUX. The whole idea is to blur some lines of like form and function and style and utility. And I would say that the waterproof bags are the best embodiment of that thus far. Cause yeah, they're really like just a boxy water. Yeah. They're just boxy shape. They fit perfectly. Two of them fit perfectly side by side inside of a RUX. And then they actually have buckles, so you could clip one to the outside if you really wanted to and make a sort of dump bucket. But you would never really know that it's an actual dry bag until you reach down inside and pull the roll top part out.
Yeah.
That just tucks away. Cause I don't know about you guys, but I've used a lot of dry bags and that sort of thing over the years, and they always end up being these kind of like bottomless black holes, and you have to roll it and unroll it all the time.
Roll it.
It's annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, probably only need it like sometimes. So it just flips out of the way. And then, yeah, I don't know, just the whole aesthetic of RUX is to be like clean and modern, a little bit of Scandinavian or Japanese or something inspiration there.
It looks like a tote bag. If you can picture like a tote bag, like a woman's size tote bag, it's like a tote bag, but it's very stylish waterproof bag.
Yeah, and it just happens to be RF welded, TPU coated nylon that's like indestructible.
And it, along with the RUX, is available in different colors, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. We have, let's see, black and green are our perennials. We also have orange, I believe, at the moment. And we're launching blue next week. So
Cool.
Another big, you heard it here first moment. And then also coming in a few weeks, we're going to have clear, like full clear. Well, it's clear with light scrim of thread inside of the clear.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's like a super durable, again, TPU material. And then, yeah, green, black, green,
Like
Orange.
Clear.
Yeah, the green and the black. I've seen them say at the BC Overland Rally, and everything they do is aesthetically pleasing. Like it's all very, very nice looking products, as well as being a high quality product as well too. But that's the way you look at it from, say, a lot of people's perspective. A lot of people want something that looks good. So whether you're out on that stand-up paddleboard, you want to have that bright orange one that, or whatever it is, right? The orange would match the orange on the fly on my rooftop tent kind of idea, right? So
yeah. And then all of the components, the bags and the waterproof bags and the pockets and everything all come in Pantone match, exactly the same fabric essentially. So you could really nerd out and have like full matching.
Exactly. Now, the one thing I did come across recently is you guys either have or are working with putting molly panels on the outside. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. So that's another thing that's in the lab. And yeah, we have these really nice, because I know in the overland community, it's like molly's being adopted. And I actually was exposed to it when I worked at Arc'teryx many years ago and worked on their leaf programs. I learned all about molly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's actually a huge inspiration for RUX, like a modular,
Exactly. Yeah.
lightweight, load carrying equipment. And so, yeah, we just, as another way of making RUX completely rigid, we've made these cut aluminum panels with a molly pattern on them that will clip inside of the RUX that kind of fit inside under the rails and make it completely rigid, or link them to the straps on the outside of the RUX. And then, so if you have whatever your molly pocket setup is on there, you can make it even more G, that part.
Yeah, because there's so many good things about the molly. Even simple thing, like if you want to take the RUX and you want to take it down to the beach and use that to bring down to the beach, or throw it in the front of your kayak and kayak out to an island, and even for lunch or whatever. But you can throw so many things on a molly panel that you don't have to store inside the bag. Simple things like a flashlights or whatever.
Yeah, you can just have it all and pull that out. Or
exactly.
I mean, again, I love the idea of people being able to Lego their way to make up whatever they wanted it and left it all. Choose your own adventure.
Yeah. No, that's great. I lost my train of thought. Let me have a quick look at my notes. I did have a train of thought there, but it does disappear sometimes. The other day, you and I were talking on the phone about different markets for the RUX products. Obviously, I saw it at the BC Overland Rally. I'd seen it before online. And I always thought, hey, this is a cool product. And then when I saw it in person, and I agree, this is a product that really needs to be seen in person. You guys do a great marketing campaign. You've got lots of great videos in your Instagram, lots of great things happening there, but you really need to see this product in person. So first of all, let's talk about where people can see your product and purchase your product in person. Obviously, your website is good. You got a wonderful website. It explains a lot of things, but it's something that I feel is easier to do in person.
Yeah. Physical retail shops. We're in Canada. We're in BC and the Hub here in BC, Atmosphere. I know we have a bunch of other smaller retailers across the country as well.
I was going to say, you have a listing on your website, right?
You could just go on the website and find a shop close to you.
Yeah.
Because you're right. We just sat here and explained it, but it's funny because we launched in the start of COVID, and so we didn't really do any physical real life events. I think that show where you saw them was like one of the first events that we've done as a company. And so it's awesome for me to go to these shows and stand there and watch people and be like, hey, what is, oh, cool. Oh, wow, neat. Oh, yeah, like go through a whole, some people get it. Some people are just like, okay, whatever, walk away. But a lot of people will, maybe if they don't get it right off the hop, though, once they've got their hands on it, they'll be like, oh, this is cool. The materials are top notch. And put a lot of thought to it.
I think at the BC Overland Rally, you guys had a great idea by having that red Land Cruiser in your booth, because that drew people in.
See, I wasn't at that one, so I don't know. But that sounds, so the Overland show, red Land Cruiser, it's never going to be wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. It was, I saw that and then I realized, oh yeah, there's stuff in the booth.
It did work.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Try and line that up again next year.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mentioned earlier, you and I were talking on the phone the other night, and I come from the overlanding or the 4x4 background, but there's a lot of other markets that your product can be used. And that's one thing with a lot of us outdoor enthusiasts, whether you want to call myself an overlander or whatever it is, but a lot of us outdoor enthusiasts are involved in so many different outdoor sports or passions, right? So whether it be quads, you mentioned snowmobiles earlier, kayaking is a huge thing for me, stand-up paddleboards, etc. So there's so many different things where you can use your products that work very well. And one thing that I hadn't really thought about that you mentioned was water sports.
Yeah. Again, the whole idea with RUX was to make it very non-specific. There's a lot, I don't know about you, but I've got a lot of bags that are super niche for different applications.
Yeah.
And as a designer, I want to make something that's like the opposite of that. That's universal. It's as it stands, you're right. It's definitely more outdoor oriented, but that can be interpreted in a million different ways. And I wanted to make a product that could adapt and be just always, our whole mission is to basically make you feel like you're just always ready to go. Like whatever you're into, you just, whether you're going to chuck stuff in it at the last minute, but know that it's all there, or if you're going to meticulously pack it and use the app to track where you're, whatever.
Where everything is.
Your stuff in, where your spatula is for your camping. And then, yeah. So in that regard, it could be good for
well, even so many things like say,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So many things, right? Say just whether you're going for a picnic and bringing your stuff, or whether you're going kayaking for wherever. And there's just so many options, and it's just so much more universal than a dry bag. Or
it's just this, when I've really started thinking about it, I'm like, it's always the same problem. You just got to get your stuff to a different place. Which sounds really dumb, but it's always going to be one of the things you have to do to go and do one of your activities. Now you're going to have to gather up a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Make sure you got it all, get it to your vehicle, get your vehicle to a place, unload it, and then use it. And it can be a really super annoying, painful part of the whole experience. Or you try to make it fun. I like to joke that it's like, it's way more fun if you're just like the guy who's sitting around waiting for your buddies, and to be the guy who's sweating because you're rummaging through your bag because you don't know if you got that thing and don't, and then the trip's blown and whatever. So RUX is all about, trying to make just the cool guy.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's quite a universal product. So that's the one thing that I find really interesting. And like I say, we all have different interests in that. So the website has got a ton of great information on it, and definitely recommend our listeners go to rux.life and to see some of that product, the videos and different photos and stuff like that. And of course you can purchase online, I believe.
Yep.
If they want to.
You can just buy right from our website. That's like the best for us.
You make the most money that way.
Exactly. I'm constantly trying to, this spring, like when we were talking about different marketing strategies, like this spring, I'm going to, just try to like share again, because it's a weird new thing, like try to share a lot more information about how I use it, how it could be used, what we're doing, new ideas, looking for feedback from people. If they see it and they're like, oh, if there's only a little bit more, I'd love to hear that. So
getting any feedback's good. Yeah. One thing I should mention too is you got some videos, and some of them are on your website, but you've also got your YouTube channel, and there's a lot of really good videos where you are explaining how everything comes together, how to use things, how to use the bag inside the 70, etc. And I'll be honest with you, that is probably the best way for people to learn more about the RUX product line, because the videos that you've got it just makes it so simple and understanding.
I figured out that there's no one better to explain it than me.
If the guy that designed it can't explain it, then we got a problem.
I have a hard time sometimes, so I get it.
So definitely go to rux.life and see some of the videos there, as well as their YouTube channel, because to be honest with you, that is the best way to explain what we've been talking about here tonight, because it is such a visual product. It's hard to explain it in an audio way. But definitely that, and of course the Instagram, etc. One thing I did want to ask you about was, you mentioned Patagonia and Baffin Island.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. I was going to say a little bit off topic, I know, but we're all travelers and we love to hear traveling stories.
Yeah. So my sort of outdoor activity I've revolved a lot around climbing through my whole life. And hence why I live in Squamish. I used to live in a van down by the river, like before it was cool. And Yeah. Yeah. And then over the years, I've been on a lot of cool trips and yeah, I've been to Patagonia a few times and yeah, one time up to Baffin Island to Samford Fjord on the East Coast there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's been my main form of travel is usually for some sort of climbing trip. And again, a huge inspiration for RUX, just all like to go on a international climbing trip. Or Baffin was almost, aside from the fact we didn't need passports, was like by far the most difficult and remote place to get to.
Oh yeah.
Way harder than Patagonia by far. And yeah, you just need a ton of gear and to be organized and all this stuff. And I feel like RUX is me doing penance because I used to always leave it till the last minute and then be freaking out till 4:00 in the morning, having to get up at 6 to go get on a plane someplace. And it was always so stressful. And I was like, duffel bags, usually have multiple duffel bags, gear coming out of Rubbermaids into duffel bags and this whole shuffle. And then getting home, it always, usually somewhere along the way, it'd be like this huge explosion and then have to repack. And RUX is definitely well informed by all of that kind of experience and just being like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yep.
It can be. Yep. You can actually make it like almost the fun part of your trip. You just put a little bit of care into it.
It's amazing what a little bit of organization how it can make your trip that much better.
Yeah. 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 And I guess every kind of wacky invention, it's because I saw that there was something was missing in that space. So I was like, literally, duffel bags and or totes or whatever. What if they were together as a system?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's an interesting idea using the handles, and you don't have a Rubbermaid tote that has handles, and there's none that you can use throw up as a backpack as well too, right?
Yeah,
so
totally. Yeah. Also a fun, it hasn't really caught on yet here in Squamish, but I actually love using my 70-liter RUX to go to the crag when I go climbing. And I'll just literally pull it out from the storage place at home, maybe like shuffle, put in some snacks and stuff. And then if you squish it down, there's compression straps on it. So you can actually pack it down. And I've actually used it as a carry-on luggage quite a few times now as well. Yep. If you squish it down halfway, and then it carries this pretty good backpack. Actually, the straps are 1.5-inch padded webbing. Might not be like your overnight bag, but for walking to the crag. And then what's cool is when I get there, I just pop it open. I take the lid off and I have a little seat, put my shoes on. And then I actually just have this whole bin. So when I'm, especially that kind of climbing where you're like doing a route and then you come down, you can like move along, kind of in the same spot, but moving around. It's actually perfect for that because I just chuck everything in there, pick it up, move it to the next climb. And anyways, one of these days.
Nice and simple, right? So
you keep it real simple. Yeah. It's like literally having that bin that I have at home, but sitting at the bottom of a
exactly.
Yeah. It's nice. Yeah. One of these days I know I'm going to walk up to the crag and see somebody else with a
Are you guys looking at doing different sizes in the future?
Definitely. Yeah. That's like we're pushing it back just for a variety of reasons, but we have later on different sizes prototyped and ready to go. The one thing about just the way that like to make the molds for, especially if we made like a proper different size top, essentially like we want to make a bigger one and a smaller one, but there's some mold costs and that sort of thing involved. Yeah. So we got to be strategic about that.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in manufacturing industry and molds. I know I bought in steel or molds for steel products, and before it was 15 grand or 20 grand just out the window just to buy molds at a minimum. So you got to be careful with that cash flow and all that.
Totally.
So.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, no, that was a cool part. Like I said, I've worked at Arc'teryx for a long time and did a bunch of other kind of contract work, but mostly apparel and traditional bag construction. So for me, RUX was actually like a huge kind of exploration and finding out about injection molding and all these different materials and yeah, it's been a really cool, interesting on a variety of levels.
Definitely. Yeah. There's so much to learn when you get into something that, say, coming from a textile area and then getting into different manufacturing systems and that there's so much to learn, and as well as running your own business as well too.
And running a business. Yeah. Yeah. Running the business part. That part's good. I'm like more of a designer at heart. I'm going to be an entrepreneur.
Run your own business, they say. You'll have all this free time and all this money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every business owner laughs at that one, right?
Yeah.
Free time.
Yeah.
But that is one of the reasons we love having Canadian businesses on, is to help promote Canadian business. A lot of companies that people don't realize are Canadian. And I'll be honest with you, I knew you're Canadian, but it didn't occur to me that you were Canadian just by looking at the product. And I thought it was a bigger company out of the States. And I know you guys are constantly growing and got new ideas out, but that's one of the reasons we love talking to Canadian business owners, because there's so many companies that people don't realize are Canadian. Yeah.
Those sneaky little Canadian companies that.
In the overlanding community, there's more coming up, and we've had some great off-road or 4x4 related companies that have been there, where their marketplace is actually 80% USA based in that, right?
Well, that's like us. 80 is maybe closer to 70, but 70% of our business is in the States. So
which is that's where the marketplace is. And there's more people in California than there is in Canada. Kudos to you guys for, making that leap and going into the States too, because that's a whole nother ball game down there.
Yeah, no, I don't know if we would even be doing what we're doing if we weren't down there.
Exactly.
Economies of scale and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything that we missed that you wanted to bring up?
No, just I would love if everyone could go just check out our website and, like you said, watch some of the videos. I don't love making videos, but I've been getting better at it. So go check it out.
I've enjoyed watching them. I think you do a great job on it. I highly recommend going to the website, checking out the videos, because that way it's a visual thing. That this is totally a visual product, and how you explain how things go together, how you can utilize the pieces on the outside, or how you can utilize that. You can strap down the 70 down to something like in front of a quad or on the roof rack on a vehicle. And it's definitely a visual thing. So I agree 100%. Go check out the videos.
Yeah. So love to hear what people have to think, or pick up a RUX.
Trisha, did you have a question?
It's okay. I wanted to ask, where did the name come from?
It was the first 3-letter URL that we could get. No, it was naming a business is tricky, but it was definitely inspired by like a rucksack is like a British term for backpack, basically.
Yep.
Okay.
So that was cool. And the RUX box, because it's a box, but now we just want them to be called RUX. What is that thing? Is it a bag? Is it a box? No, it's a RUX. But it honestly, I can't remember exactly how we got down to RUX.
Okay. It's a little history behind it. I like it.
Yeah.
It's a unique name that you don't forget, right?
Yes. Yeah. It was catchy, and I don't know. Yeah. I like it. I can say it.
Cool.
I definitely love the bag. I think I need to get a one. Like you said, like even Wes was talking about, like we're all outdoors people, and like I'm thinking like all the stuff I can use it for in the summertime, like just putting like dirt bike gear, my helmets in. If we're going up to the cottage and we're going canoeing for the weekend, it's not having 3 different dry bags at the bottom of the bucket. And you're like, is my phone in there? Is it in this? My keys? And it's got the pockets. Everything's organized. I can just pick it up and go. Put it on my backpack. If I have the dog in one hand, I can just strap it on my back and be like, I don't have to worry about toting a tote and then having the dogs running around. I can just be like, boom, get it back. Let's go. So it's just like convenient of the one storage I can put in the Jeep in the back and just be like, yes, it's there. Strap it down if I needed to. It's perfect.
That's the vibe.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. It fit perfect in the back of the Jeep behind that seat. So
yeah,
it's almost the perfect size for that. Trisha, did you want to ask the last question?
Sure. So our last question that we ask all our guests that come on our podcast is, what Canadian would you like to listen to on our podcast?
What Canadian? Like musical selection?
Anybody.
Anybody. I don't know.
Preferably related to the outdoor world, but
It can be anybody.
it can be anybody.
Oh, I see. So, okay, gotcha. Of not a musician, but like another.
Preferably an outdoors person.
Yeah,
no,
what's
yes.
I'm curious what musician you would say.
I was gonna. I am tragically hip. Jumps straight to my head. But, that would be a tough one to get them into.
Yeah, that'd take a little bit of work.
Who else would I like to hear interviewed? Thank you. Do you want to hear another Canadian legend? You could interview our marketing guy, Joe Schwartz. He was one of the first Red Bull Rampage mountain bikers ever.
Oh, really? That would be cool.
Yeah. And he drives a Tundra, actually.
But yeah, no, I bet he's got some wonderful stories about outdoor.
He's got some good stories about outdoor. He grew up in Nelson there, so definitely.
That's a mecca for great mountain biking.
Yeah, he probably knows some guys from up in Kamloops there too. I know he spent a lot of time there as a youth.
Yeah, we've got some really good mountain biking trails up here in Kamloops for sure.
I lived in Kamloops for a couple of years. I went to that outdoor school there, and
up at TRU kind of idea.
TRU back when I was at Caribou College.
Yeah, I've got some great mountain biking here, but
that'd be really cool. And he said he was with the Red Bull Mountain.
He was like when mountain biking was first becoming a real thing, and Red Bull was just becoming a real thing, and they still do this event. It's called the Red Bull Rampage.
Yeah, and they follow Red Bull.
It's like a different crazy mountain bike.
Yeah,
it's not really even a race. It's just like a competition to see who can do the craziest things. Joe Schwartz was in the first cohort of Red Bull Rampagers.
Nice. Yeah, it's a small world in regards to the mountain biking scene in BC. There's so many wonderful mountain bikers that come out of here. And we've got a few riders out of Kamloops who have gone on to...
that's been the hotbed of... That's almost like the heart of Canadian mountain biking.
Yeah.
Traditionally. It's been back in those days.
Yeah. Kamloops is all of BC is great. Ontario would be too if they actually had hills, but...
if the hills were actually mountains, they would...
You want to go over like skyscrapers? Then sure.
Tony, I really want to thank you for coming on tonight. Once again, we're talking with Tony from RUX.
Just RUX. RUX.life is our website.
Yes. Yeah. So we're talking to Tony from RUX. Check him out at RUX.life on the website. Like we mentioned earlier, check out the videos because that is the best way to see what we've been talking about tonight. I think he's done a great job of explaining things, but seeing it in person or on the videos is just that much better. And again, RUX.life is on all the socials as well too. So got a really good Instagram page. And speaking of Instagram, if you listeners are not following us on Instagram, please hop on there, check us out at 4x4 Canada Podcast. And we do quite a bit of different things. We share reels of the interviews as they come up, and well as keep an eye on the 4x4 and overlanding market all across Canada. So we definitely want to check us out on Instagram at 4x4 Canada Podcast. Check out Tony and his crew at RUX.life on Instagram. And I really want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us tonight.
Thank you guys. It was a pleasure.
It's been a fun one.